As the internal crackdowns expand and intensify, the religious minorities tend to be on the front lines of this repression apparatus.
Just last month, 21 Iranian Christians were arrested in these 6 cities. Officials accused them of spreading Zionist Christianity and, quote, acting against national security.
What is happening in Iran right now? We know the 12-day war that began on 6/13, on June 13, was a targeted war to dismantle the Iran nuclear capabilities. But do we realize there are 90 million Iranian citizens? What are they living through right now post the 12-day war? What is happening on the streets? And the bigger question is, where is the UN condemnation? Where is the world screaming massacre, genocides? Why isn't there protests in Columbia, in Harvard, at all the Ivy League universities, in the streets of London? Free, free Iran. Why don't we hear any of that? Do you have a clue what's happening in Iran? Please listen in together to get a very fresh update of a situation that is fluid, that is happening right now in Iran. Kindly subscribe to this channel so that a little bit of light can push away a lot of darkness.
A brutal crackdown is taking place inside Iran, including mass executions and political arrests. This time, it's not hidden. A former war crimes prosecutor is sounding the alarm to warn the world of an unfolding massacre happening in plain sight. CBN's George Thomas has the details.
Stephen Rapp, former U.S. ambassador at large in the Office of Global Criminal Justice, tells CBN News the Iranian regime isn't just cracking down with arrests or beatings, it's using executions to silence dissent, with the numbers rising fast after the recent war with Israel.
There are thousands of political prisoners, and they could charge them with these phony charges and begin mass executions, really judicial murders of peaceful opponents.
In 2023, Iran executed more than 850 people. A year later, that number jumped to 975. And now, just 8 months into 2025, over 700 executions have already been recorded.
The Islamic Republic continues to be the leading state sponsor of executions, second to the Chinese Communist Party.
Among those put to death, 3 Kurdish men and a top nuclear scientist accused of collaborating with Israel.
The regime fears its people more than a potential external attack because ultimately, in their perspective, they can absorb any attack on their military installations. However, if the discontent internally will to expand and lead to nationwide unrest as it has in the past, it would really be the key catalyst for regime collapse.
Others sentenced to death are charged with vague offenses like, quote, enmity against God.
What I fear is instead of 1,000 a year, we could end up with literally tens of thousands being executed.
People are being rounded up all over the place. People are being stopped in the streets and told to hand over their cell phones while they check messaging history, photos taken, phone calls made, websites visited. I mean, it's just blanket across the board. Cars are being stopped and checked. Homes are being raided. No one is safe.
And it's not only political activists being targeted.
As the internal crackdowns expand and intensify, the religious minorities tend to be on the front lines of this repression apparatus.
Just last month, 21 Iranian Christians were arrested in these 6 cities. Officials accused them of spreading Zionist Christianity and, quote, acting against national security.
Those two things are the classic accusations for Christians when they get arrested and charged with something. Of course, the government just wants to stop the spread of Christianity in Iran, but this is amplified now because they are paranoid.
Days after the Israel-Iran ceasefire, the regime's state-run Fars news agency, which is tied to the Revolutionary Guard, openly called for a repeat of the 1988 massacre, when 30,000 political prisoners were secretly executed.
They got away with murder, mass murder in 1988. They think they can get away with it again.
as executions mount and repression deepens, human rights advocates warn the almost worldwide silence only enables the regime's growing brutality.
As long as the international community, the United States and Europe particularly, do not speak up against these heinous crimes, the regime therefore doesn't feel any obligation to scale back its internal repression.
George Thomas, CBN News.
And CBN News will not be silent and continue to cover this. Gordon?
We will let our voices be heard on behalf of the Christians in Iran and again, on behalf of those who protest this horrible government. Just imagine a government saying, we're going to repeat a massacre where 30,000 political opponents were executed, that they're proud of that, that they want to use that. The regime itself is a weapon of mass destruction. We talk a lot about their acquisition of a nuclear weapon and what would happen to Tel Aviv if they ever got one. But the regime itself, this ideology of hatred, that there are little Satans and great Satans, and we're here on behalf of the cause of Islam, and we want to stand against the infidels and all of that. It's all hate speech, and I don't understand our own politics on this. You know, why progressives, so-called progressives, would want to support this. Can you imagine being a woman in Iran and you're subject to being beaten by the religious police because your scarf isn't tied right? It's absolutely unimaginable. This is horrific. I wish we had taken out that government. I know it's really hard to say, and I'll probably be criticized for it, but they are absolute evil. And they've been evil against their own citizens for decades, and they've exported that evil to Iraq and to Lebanon. They've tried to take out Israel several times. They launch missiles. They've had these ballistic missiles. They're supplying Russia with drones. All of these horrible things are going on, all because of an ideology at the top. That ideology has to change for there ever to be peace in the Middle East.
And we need to be able to appreciate and understand that the average Iranian is like you and I. I'll never forget when I was a teenager, when the revolution occurred in 1979, thousands of Jewish children, families fled Iran to New York, Los Angeles, Israel. I was in New York at the time, and we absorbed a lot of the refugees to help them get resettled in America. And what it was like trying to resettle in a whole new country, a new culture, new language, new everything. But looking at them, that they are beautiful people just like you and I. Let's fast forward now 46 years. You and I know a lot of Persian people. I know a lot of Persian Jews. I know how hard working they are, how brilliant they are, and how great of a people they are. And just a taste of what has been left behind in Iran. So you're talking about 90 million people. There are some very bright people, great people there, who are being held hostage by their government. Mr. Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister, recently sent a message just in the last few days that Iran announced that they are facing a terrible drought. The reservoirs are drying up, and there's a horrific drought. And they're talking about running out of water by the beginning of the month of September. Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister, offered the Iranian people ways of not only recycling water, as Israel has mastered, but also offering to send their finest engineers to set up desalination plants to be able to turn seawater into drinkable water. And they are ready, Israel is ready to give the Iranian citizens all the help they need, because water is not just a necessity, it's life. And here is Israel, who had just absorbed so many ballistic bombs into civilian neighborhoods, not only displacing, killing so many people, but yet it's willing to offer its neighbor help. That's what Israel is about. That's what the Jewish people is about. So I just have the same question. Where are the protests? These massacres are happening right now, under our eye, but there's not one condemnation in UN. The United Nations hasn't had an emergency security meeting to condemn Iran for massacring its own citizens for no reason whatsoever. We certainly pray and we hope that there'll be a regime change there from within. Hopefully the government will be toppled, that the Iranian people will be able to once again reintroduce a democracy, that they could be free people. Men, women, children could walk around freely and practice Christianity, Judaism, or Islam freely. Think about this. Before 1979, there was an airline that would travel from Iran to Tel Aviv. They had flights going back and forth. The students used to have exchange students from universities from Tehran to Jerusalem to Tel Aviv. We were partners up until the revolution. Imagine bringing the energy, the brain power of Iran and Israel together once again, what it could accomplish, not just for the Middle East, but for the world. It's doable, it's attainable. Let's pray and we hope that it happens very soon in our days. God bless you. God loves you.